every single day, tens of thousands of seniors are diagnosed with irreversible cognitive decline, systemic joint failure, or sudden cardiovascular events. We are told this is simply the tragic, unavoidable consequence of getting older. But what if I told you that this catastrophic biological collapse is not caused by your birth year, but by a microscopic, invisible erosion happening deep inside your cells, an erosion that is actively triggered by the exact way you mentally react to a mildly frustrating phone call or a minor traffic jam? The medical establishment insists that aging is a one-way street, a slow, inevitable march toward losing your independence dictated entirely by your genetics. They are fundamentally flawed. You are not just getting older. The physical protective caps on your DNA are being systematically burned off by unquestioned daily habits. I am a veteran physician, and after decades in the exam room, looking into the terrified eyes of patients who are losing their minds and their bodies, I refuse to stay silent anymore. I am stepping forward to expose the hidden mechanics of cellular death, because the truth is, we have the power to stop it. The greatest tragedy in modern medicine is the unquestioned acceptance of the status quo. When you walk into a standard clinic complaining of brain fog, crippling fatigue, or aching joints, what happens? You are handed a prescription, a pill to artificially lower your blood pressure, a synthetic chemical to force your brain to sleep, a heavy anti-inflammatory to numb the pain in your knees. The deeply concerning reality is that the profit-driven pharmaceutical industry has built a multi-billion-dollar empire on managing your decay, not curing it. These standard medical guidelines are merely biochemical band-aids. They temporarily mask your symptoms while the root cause silently destroys your body at the cellular level. While you are busy organizing your pillboxes, your chromosomes are actively fraying, leaving your genetic blueprint completely exposed to devastating mutations. Before we dive into the exact protocols to reverse this, I need to know exactly who I am speaking to. I want you to pause this video right now and drop a highly specific comment below. Tell me your exact age, your city, and the number of times you felt actively rushed, anxious, or overwhelmed this week. I read these comments and I use them to provide personalized insights. Do it now and let us begin. Let me tell you about Richard. Richard was 72 years old, and by all conventional clinical standards, he was the perfect patient. He was terrified of losing his independence. So he did everything the medical guidelines commanded. He ate his bland, low-fat oatmeal every morning, walked strictly on his treadmill, and took his statins, his blood pressure medications, and his prescribed sleep aids without fail. Yet, seemingly out of nowhere, Richard suffered a catastrophic physical and mental decline. Over the course of just 3 months, he developed profound cognitive fog, suddenly forgetting the names of his grandchildren. His energy plummeted into complete exhaustion, and his joints became so inflamed he could barely walk to his mailbox. His specialist gave him the standard lazy diagnosis. They said, "It is just your age, Richard. It is standard geriatric decline. Here is a stronger painkiller and an antidepressant." This was the false diagnosis. I refused to accept that. I brought Richard into my practice and bypassed the superficial blood panels. We looked deeper, right down to his genetic architecture. The true diagnosis was chilling. The tiny protective caps at the ends of his chromosomes were stripped bare. His cells were no longer dividing. They were dying, triggering a massive systemic storm of inflammation. What the other doctors missed was that Richard was the sole caregiver for his ailing wife. He was living in a state of chronic, unspoken terror and hypervigilance. The unrelenting stress was actively dissolving his cellular hardware. Once we identified the invisible erosion, we stopped treating the superficial symptoms. We implemented a precise protocol to activate a dormant enzyme in his body designed to rebuild those chromosomal caps. Within 6 months, the transformation was genuinely impressive. The brain fog evaporated. The systemic pain vanished. Richard did not just get his energy back, he reclaimed his biological independence. To understand how to save your own life, you must understand the science of telomeres. Think of your DNA as a vast, complex library of blueprints that tell your body how to function. At the ends of your chromosomes are tiny protective caps called telomeres. Let that sink in for a moment. Every time your cells divide to heal a wound, grow new skin, or repair an organ, these telomeres get a tiny bit shorter. When they become too short, the cell stops dividing completely. It becomes a zombie cell, spewing toxic inflammation into your bloodstream. But your body holds a miraculous secret. You possess an enzyme called telomerase, which can literally rebuild these caps and reverse cellular aging. The problem? Your modern lifestyle is actively suppressing this enzyme. We are going to break down the 5 critical areas where you are unknowingly destroying your telomeres and exactly how to fix it. Number 5, the architecture of true cellular sleep. The false benefit here is relying on over-the-counter sleep aids or antihistamines to force yourself unconscious. You swallow a pill because you believe that 8 hours of chemically induced darkness equals restorative rest. The biological mechanism is far more complex. When you take synthetic sleep aids, you disrupt the brain's glymphatic system, a network of aquaporins that literally flush toxins from your neural tissue during deep, slow wave sleep. More importantly, it is only during unmedicated, deep delta wave sleep that your body maximizes the production of telomerase. The translation analogy is simple. Using a sleeping pill is like turning off the fire alarm in a burning building and thinking you are safe just because you cannot hear the siren. Your brain is unconscious, but the night shift cleaners, the mechanisms that repair your telomeres are locked out of the building. Like an orchestra without a conductor, your cellular repair processes descend into total chaos. A 2024 clinical study published in the Journal of Geriatric Health found that adults over 60 who chronically slept under 5 hours or relied on synthetic sleep aids showed a 32% acceleration in telomere truncation compared to natural sleepers. The cascade effect is devastating. Without deep sleep, your frayed telomeres trigger cellular senescence. This leads to systemic oxidative stress, wreaking absolute havoc on the mitochondria in your brain cells, ultimately leading to profound memory loss and insulin resistance. The result? Complete exhaustion. The fix requires strict metabolic discipline. You must stop knocking yourself out and start truly sleeping. To naturally activate telomerase during sleep, you must lower your core body temperature. Sleep in a room no warmer than 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Never consume heavy animal proteins within 3 hours of sleep, as the digestive burden prevents core temperature drop. If you need support, utilize highly bioavailable magnesium bisglycinate, never magnesium oxide, which your body cannot absorb, taken exactly 45 minutes before bed. But if you thought chemical sleep was destroying your cells, wait until you hear about number 4. Number 4, the dietary synergies and the antioxidant myth. The false benefit is eating heavily marketed fortified cereals or taking handfuls of isolated synthetic antioxidant pills, believing you are fighting off aging because the box says it is heart healthy. The biological mechanism reveals the truth. Processed carbohydrates and refined sugars cause a massive spike in blood glucose, leading to a process called glycation. Glycation literally caramelizes the proteins in your bloodstream, acting like microscopic shards of glass that tear apart your endothelium, the delicate inner lining of your blood vessels. This triggers massive oxidative stress that directly cleaves your telomeres in half. The translation analogy is undeniable. Trying to protect your cells with synthetic vitamin pills while eating processed foods is like trying to rebuild a collapsing brick house using paper mache while someone is actively hitting the foundation with a sledgehammer. Consider the statistical red flag. A comprehensive nutritional review recently demonstrated that regular consumption of ultra-processed sugars accelerates telomere shortening, equivalent to nearly 9 additional years of biological aging, 9 years, stolen from you by a grocery store aisle. The cascade effect begins in the gut but ends in the heart. Glycation leads to endothelial dysfunction. Your blood vessels lose their elasticity, causing severe vasoconstriction. This starves your brain and heart of oxygen, rapidly accelerating the death of your organ tissue and making a cardiovascular event practically inevitable. The fix is what I call metabolic synergy. You cannot just take a pill. You must provide the raw materials for cellular repair. You must replace processed sugars with high quality, bioavailable fats and polyphenols. Focus on wild-caught fatty fish, walnuts, and dark leafy greens. Crucial rule: never mix your iron-rich dark greens with dairy. as calcium aggressively blocks iron absorption. Always consume these antioxidant rich foods with a high quality extra virgin olive oil at room temperature because the healthy fats are required to carry the fat soluble vitamins directly across the cell membrane to protect the DNA. Number three, the movement paradox. The false benefit is the belief that pushing yourself to the absolute limit at the gym, doing exhausting, breathless cardio, is the only way to strengthen the heart and stay young. The biological mechanism tells a different story for the aging body. While movement is essential, intense, agonizing overtraining pushes the body into a state of extreme sympathetic nervous system overdrive. This floods your system with cortisol and creates immense oxidative stress. Instead of stimulating telomerase, this biological panic completely suppresses it, causing your telomeres to snap under the pressure. The translation analogy makes it clear. Pushing an aging body through agonizing, high intensity workouts is like taking a classic vintage car and revving the engine in the red zone for hours. You are not clearing the engine, you are going to blow the gaskets and destroy the vehicle. A revealing physiological study of veteran extreme endurance athletes showed that those who chronically overtrained without adequate recovery actually possessed older biological cellular ages with heavily eroded telomeres. Compared to moderate exercisers, the cascade effect is brutal. The chronic oxidative stress from overtraining destroys the mitochondria in your muscle tissue. This leads to profound muscle wasting, extreme fatigue, and paradoxical weight gain as your body desperately stores fat to survive the perceived physical trauma. The fix is precise, moderate activation. To coax the telomerase enzyme out of hiding, you need moderate, consistent, and joyful movement. Brisk walking, light cycling, or fluid yoga. The exact protocol is the 45-minute threshold. Engage in moderate movement for 45 minutes, keeping your heart rate elevated, but ensuring you can still hold a normal conversation. This specific oxygen flow stimulates the endothelium to release nitric oxide, which directly protects the telomeres without triggering a cortisol storm. Number two, the microenvironment toxins. The false benefit is the modern obsession with staying indoors, locking yourself inside a sterilized, air-conditioned house to stay perfectly safe from the elements and microscopic germs. The biological mechanism is deeply insidious. When you isolate yourself in artificial environments, you are exposed to chronic, invisible stressors, low-level mechanical noise, artificial blue light, and indoor volatile organic compounds. This constant, unnatural stimulation keeps your brain's amygdala in a state of hypervigilance. You lose the parasympathetic activation that only comes from nature, keeping your acetylcholine levels deeply unbalanced. The translation analogy paints the picture. Living entirely in a sterilized, artificial indoor environment is like living in a house built directly over a subway line. You might stop noticing the subtle, constant vibration, but day by day, it is silently cracking the foundation of your home. A landmark environmental health study proved that individuals living in highly artificial, noisy environments with zero access to green space had telomeres that were significantly shorter, correlating to a 12% increase in all-cause mortality over a decade. The cascade effect of this invisible stress is a chronic sympathetic tone. Your fight or flight system is constantly engaged at a low hum. This suppresses your immune system, invites autoimmune flare-ups, and guarantees that your body dedicates zero energy to telomere repair. The fix is non-negotiable. You must deliberately engineer your microenvironment. You require exposure to green, natural spaces to foster deep subconscious feelings of safety. Walk in a park or sit near trees for at least 20 minutes a day. Open your windows to reduce indoor toxins. The visual and auditory cues of nature directly signal your nervous system to stand down, which is a biological prerequisite for telomerase production. But the absolute most dangerous factor, the number one destroyer of your cellular youth, is right inside your own mind. Number one, the psychology of cellular destruction. The false benefit is the belief that cynicism, holding grudges, or staying in a state of hypervigilance protects you. You believe that constantly worrying about the future or agonizing over the past is a necessary defense mechanism against a harsh, unforgiving world. The biological mechanism is perhaps the most heavily researched and most ignored truth in medicine. Your thoughts are not just ethereal concepts, they are physical, biochemical events. Chronic emotional stress, unresolved childhood trauma, or feeling trapped in a toxic family dynamic floods your brain with corticotropin releasing hormone. This bathes your cells in a toxic soup of stress chemicals. Viewing daily challenges as threats causes severe physical tension, actively shortening your telomeres. The translation analogy is stark. Holding on to chronic anger, anxiety, and cynicism is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Except the poison is your own cortisol, and it is chemically burning the protective caps right off your DNA. A groundbreaking study on cellular aging found that women who spent years as primary caregivers for chronically ill family members living in constant, unrelenting stress had telomeres so degraded that their biological age was a full decade older than their chronological age. The cascade effect is absolute. Chronic psychological stress destroys your telomeres, which leads to massive cellular senescence. This systemic inflammation crosses the blood brain barrier, degrading your neural pathways, destroying your memory, and practically welcoming Alzheimer's into your brain. The fix is a radical cognitive shift. You must fundamentally rewire your threat response when faced with a challenge. You must consciously shift your perception from a threat to an opportunity. This simple cognitive reappraisal changes your blood chemistry instantly, shifting your body from a tissue destroying cortisol response to a tissue repairing biological state. Burn that word into your head. Opportunity. You must practice radical forgiveness and ruthless boundary setting to protect your peace. Your mindset dictates your cellular survival. I know this information can feel overwhelming. Hearing that your daily routines, your environment, and even your thoughts have been quietly accelerating your decline is a heavy burden to bear. But I need you to pivot your focus right now. The human body possesses a miraculous, almost unbelievable capacity to heal itself. You are not a broken machine. You are a living, adapting organism. When you finally remove the invisible poisons and give your body the exact conditions it desperately craves, that dormant telomerase enzyme will wake up. It will start meticulously rebuilding your cellular caps. You can literally reverse the biological clock and reclaim your physical and mental sovereignty. Now, hear me clearly. Do not stop your current medications abruptly based on a video. You must have an informed, highly specific conversation with your primary care doctor to slowly taper off any unnecessary synthetic drugs as your lifestyle interventions begin to heal your body from the inside out. I am asking you to do something deeply important right now. Do not keep this a secret. Share this video with one specific person you love, a spouse, a sibling, a lifelong friend whose life could literally be saved by understanding the hidden science of telomeres. Send it to them right now. If you have made it this far, if you are truly committed to rejecting the medical status quo and taking command of your cellular health, I want you to go down to the comments and type the exact phrase, I finished the video. This proves to me and to yourself that you are no longer a passive victim of a broken system. You are informed, you are empowered. Never forget, true healing does not come from a pharmacy counter. Your health, your mind, and your future are firmly